Hi, it's Dave from Driving Venture once again, and welcome back. So I guess a little bit of an overdue Costco Drives. The roof is off this fabulous, I think it's the adjective I use the most to describe this car, fabulous Spyder, a car that's totally pushed all my buttons since it arrived in mid-September, and now it just sings and sings. I'm absolutely loving it, and 5,504 miles of pure pleasure on the clock. I can attest to how good this car is. Okay, well, in today's video I'm going to refer to some notes because I have a lot to say, and I might say some things when I eventually get stationary, but we'll see how we go. So in today's video I'm going to talk about my GT3 RS, what's happened to it, stay tuned. Also, I'm going to talk about, get down the list, some club news about some stuff we've done recently and stuff that's coming up as I get to Mr. Warburton's payday toll booth once again. Mr. Whittaker's even, Mr. Whittaker at Warburton. Let's get through here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the RS and what I'm thinking about at the moment. My turn. Hi mate, thanks a lot. Cheers. When we had COVID, didn't actually have to stop at the bridge because it closed the whole thing down. So I guess that was one of the little benefits of having COVID on, was you didn't have to pay 12 pence to go over the bridge. Okay, so we're going to talk about the stuff the club's been doing recently, how it's been received by the people who've got involved, what's coming up. Then I'm going to get on to some thoughts around the 992 GT3, so I'm going to talk about that. Then I'm going to talk a bit more about Norway, because it is an event, a trip, a tour, which I've been putting a hell of a lot of work in behind the scenes. And there we go. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about some things and some changes I'm going to be making to the social media output, particularly YouTube and Instagram too, I think. Okay. And then on the way back from Costco, I'm going to get into a bit of watch talk, which I haven't talked about for some time. That's my other passion, Rolex watches. Well, hazard a guess to which watch I'm wearing today. Going with the classic 16710 Pepsi stick dial. What a watch. And I paid 3,200, I think it was £30 for this watch. And I wouldn't sell it probably for maybe 17, 18,000 now. I mean, hey, what an investment it's been. Okay, so let's talk about the GT3 RS. Let's get into the meat of that. Okay. Well, I haven't driven it for a while, mainly because this car's been captivating all of my attention, and for very good reason. When you've not driven a car for a while, you kind of think to yourself, do I need it? do I actually need a car that's, you know, in the garage, battery going flat? So I'm starting to think, should I sell it? And if I did sell it, what could replace it? I don't know. But then again, I think to myself, if I got in it and drove it, it doesn't need as much petrol as this one. This is one of the reasons I'm driving this car, because it's a bit empty after our Wales trip we did last weekend. I think to myself, well, if I drove the car, perhaps I would want to actually keep it. And you know, when I was in Europe and my friend Paul was driving the car, you know, it's a case of sort of thinking to yourself, it looks so good on the road. And you say, how could I ever sell it? So it's a bit of a conundrum, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, is it time to let it go? You know, I don't know. because this car is awfully moorish to drive. Oh, when I do drive this car, it reminds me, I've said it before I think, but it reminds me so much of the 911R with the way it just picks up, and it's just got that urgent throttle response from that single mass flywheel, and it really does just go and just bite, and that initial 1,000 revs it puts on the rev meter just punches it in so well. So the RS is, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. We'll see what happens. It's but don't worry, it's not going for an electric car. I'm not going to do that. Okay, right, the club news. Well, the drive to Wales, what a success, and I have to say a big thank you to @GT Boulevard. They must follow on Instagram because he's got some very tasty cars, and he joined very, very recently and has a Carrera GT, and it was just absolutely sublime to have it along. And we were there, you know, following it for a while, getting some shots with Paul was getting the shots, photographer there, and it just sounds so good. The V10, I mean, you just wouldn't get away with making a car like that anymore. And I'm so glad the rain held off, because of course those 335 section rear tyres, the Michelin Pilot Super Sport 335, the RS is 325. I mean, these are wide, but anyway, the rain held off. The weather was good. You know, just pulling up and you've got a Carrera GT, you've got a Golf R, you've got a Toyota GR, you've got a Spyder, you've got a 911 997 GTS, you've got a 991.2 GTS. And we had an M5 CS competition along too, and you know, I do get contacted by people and they say, well, will this car be suitable, will that car be suitable? Ultimately, if it's a sports car, you know, it's like a sporty version of that brand, then I'll consider it. But I don't want the club to be, with the greatest respect, all hot hatches, because I think there's room for other cars that I'd like to see more of, you know, but it's not an issue. So, you know, the people that are getting involved are having a great time, and the Wales Mac Loop is a fantastic stretch. You go down through a valley and you've got the lake there, and it's just fab, and that's where the jets come through, and a lot of photography is done there with the jets at the banking. And then we had lunch at Norway again. It's a great little spot, and then the drive home again, just great roads. I say to people, Wales is fantastic. It's got some fab roads. I've driven them so many times, but you always leave Wales thinking I've had a great time, but I'd like the roads to go on a bit longer. I maybe could have had 3 or 4 hours of it on some stretches. And I've said before, that's where you get that's where the Highlands comes in, because the Highlands you just go on and on and on, and it's hours and hours of pure pleasure, and you kind of end your day thinking about a great time. Okay, the next topic in today's video, the 992 GT3. Now don't worry, I'm not thinking, do I sell the RS because, you know, I want a 992 GT3. I've been in and around the 992 GT3 a little bit now. You know, I've sat in the passenger seat when we've been around Spa on it with Miles Newhouse, and a great car, sounds really good, but I don't know, I'm not sure I can get on with the cabin. I'm not sure the futuristic cabin is for me. I love the dials, the analog dials. I love that about the RS. So I'm not thinking about getting rid of it for that. But there are, I'm led to believe, last time I checked, about 20 or more now GT3s for sale, the new version. And I'm kind of wondering myself, what's that saying about the 992 GT3? Is it that good? If the prices are that strong, then why don't you just drive it for a bit? Because you've bought it for list price, your money's pretty safe, you could enjoy the car, do 2, 3, 4,000 miles. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, maybe it's kind of got 718 GT4, it's got a 718 GT4 feel about it, in the sense that the supply on the 718 GT4 just seemed to be there for sale, and then the prices then went down. And don't forget, we're in the middle of a spike of inflation, you know, and in my other job, when I'm wearing a different hat in my financial services business, you know, understanding inflation, what's happening in the economy, that's something I've got to do. So I would say that even in a spike of inflation, when the market seems very, very frothy. The 992 GT3 is not selling. And then we had a collecting cars, £220,000 sold for price. Well, if that's the case, it puts those at 240 and above. I guess it puts them in their place, because I just don't see 245,000. I don't see that. So as great as they are, as well as they drive, and of course I've driven both versions, I have the PDK if I was having one, I think to myself, is it that much of a step on? I don't know. They say it is. I'm not sure. That's me not talking the GT product down. I just think it's not at the price point it's at. I don't think that's believable, really. So there we go. Okay. Well, maybe I'll talk about the Norway trip next. Yes, that's next on the list. Okay. Well, what a lot of people don't realise when you're running a car club, and it's all down to you. Obviously, I sound my friends out and they give me ideas, and club members have said to me, I'd like to try this and try that. That's fine. I don't want it to become enormous. You know, when I say limited memberships on the website, that's true, because it's not going to be getting to hundreds and hundreds. That's just not going to happen. And then eventually, we'll just say, and it seems to be picking up pace, eventually you won't be able to join unless you're referred, or you know someone in the club, or someone says, oh Dave, my pal here, Johnny, he really would like to get involved, can you get involved? And then you could probably get involved, because it won't just be join, get considered, authorise it and you join us. It'd be like, well, you've got to be referred, because I don't want it to become a corporate monster, really. I want it to be friends, great times, great drives, great experiences, some tours, and that's what I want. And I've said it before, I don't really need the money. I mean, but that brings me on to the next little thing. So let's talk about Norway. Okay, so I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you know, if I go to Norway, and you only have to punch in Norway, great sights, great roads on YouTube, and you could spend a few hours. I mean, it's fab. I mean, the roads are sensational. And then you think to yourself, well, would you really want to do that for like 4 days? I mean, but then the yin and yang is, well, people going that far, maybe it's a long trip, and maybe you've got to get permission from the missus, the girlfriend, to have that trip. So, you know, you weigh these things up, but I don't think Norway is a location I would go to, you know, I would go to again for a few years. So if I'm going that all that way, it's probably something I want to spend. It's probably a country and a location I want to spend a bit of time in, because I want to take it a little bit, not slow, because I'm not driving slow cars. They've got to watch your speed in Norway, you end up in jail. I want to come through the chicane. We want to explore what it has to offer, and we want the pace of the trip to be enjoyable. You stay in a hotel for one night, you're off again, you know, I've done that, and you know, it's not always that enjoyable. It's nice to get to a location, as I did when I went to Europe with Paul and Mark. It's nice to get to a location and think to yourself, oh yeah, I'm going to be here for a few nights, and I can relax, I can unpack all the stuff from the car, I can just chill out a little bit. So that's why I think, and then do a bit of exploring in the locale that we'll be staying at. So that's where Norway is at the moment. It's certainly happening, and I'm hoping when I put it out there that the length of the trip is, you know, it lends itself to people wanting to come, because I'll just go on my own with 2 cars if necessary. You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not that bothered if I take, you know, I certainly wouldn't take any more than 10, but maybe 6 to 8 cars would be ideal, but we'll see how we go. Okay. As we pass the chill factor on the way to the petrol station. I've got to say a little bit of a negative thing about Costco now. Obviously, I go here a lot and I've spent fortunes and I spend so much money with them. But now petrol's at astronomical prices. You know, E63 80 litre tank, and it's almost empty, and I can't do a full fill because it only authorises up to £99, so I can't actually fill my car up now in one fill. So if I've got to put the nozzle back in the holder, and then I've got to start authorising all over again, and there's a queue on, you get the funny look. So Costco, you need to sort that out. Not that Costco MD, UK MD is watching this video, but anyway, maybe I'm flashing up now. Go and get petrol, that's what we're on the way to do. Okay. Right, the sun is shining. You know, having a soft top and nice crisp autumn days like this is just can't write the script. It's just absolutely glorious. And the winter tyres are going on the car very soon. I've got a lad's jolly to Spain. One of my friends bought property over there, so the lads are going for a bit of a housewarming do. And then when I get back, I'm putting the winter tyres on this car, and then the RS. It's actually getting serviced, and that was one of the things. Obviously, you've got to get your car serviced. You've got to do it with your Porsche sensor. You've got to do that. But you know, if I told you how much it was going to cost for its major 4-year service, I almost was like, whoa. I have paid for a 2-year service on the previous GT3, and it was like, I think it was about £1,100. Well, it's a lot more than that for for the RS's major 4-year service. But anyway, never mind. Okay. So in the last little while, as we trickle into Costco, because the roads are quite busy, it's actually Saturday today. I normally go in the week, but sometimes, ever since I got back from a trip, before I went on the trip to Europe, my whole pattern of going to Costco just been a bit knocked off course, really. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about social media and doing these YouTube videos, and why I've decided I'm having a break. And that may mean you don't watch the second half about the watches, which is fine, because watches and cars, I think it's a great combination. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fair enough. You can switch off once we get to the pump. But people don't realise it's a lot of work. You're doing these videos, and also it costs money, and I don't want to become a YouTuber, really. I think I do okay reviews on cars. The lads who support me, they're fantastic. We put great content on. People are very complimentary about the stuff I do around cars. And that's great, but I don't want to be doing it, 4 or 5 times a month. It's a lot of effort, a lot of early mornings, then you've got to get the cars and all that. I've got friends with super duper cars, and I could reach out. Many of them have been very, very helpful and very kind to me. And there are a few cars I think I will have to try and see if I can get my hands on, but ultimately, I want to have a bit of a chat like this every so often, but I just feel like I need a breather. That's the bottom line. I feel like I need a break. My other business, that's my priority. Managing serious amounts of money for people, and I can't, it doesn't distract me, because I do this in my spare time. I do this video when I go shopping. Well, that doesn't take me out of my other business at all. And the other videos I do tend to be weekends when I'm obviously not working. But it's come time for a breather. How long that's going to be, I don't know. It's certainly going to be into 2022. I'll put a bit on Instagram. I might do a bit on the stories. We've got a lovely trip coming up to the UAE. We're off to Dubai in early December to the F1. So that's going to be a hell of a caper. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, it's taken a lot out of me, really. And I just feel like I need a breather. And not only does that let me just recharge a bit, but also, it saves me the money. The content that I put together, some of the videos I've done, I've enjoyed doing them, and the guys that are supporting me are ace, but I just feel like I just want a bit of a breather, really. A breather from that, and also a breather from spending out my money, really. So that's it. So I will continue the video with some of my thoughts on Rolex. I've got a bit of a list of things I wanted to talk about there. Actually, just been invited to the Rolex Michelin star dinner with my agent, my dealer. But I'm going to be in Dubai, so I won't be able to go. That's a shame. Getting all those new watches in your hands is always nice, but there we go. Anyway, in part 2, Rolex, some of my thoughts on that, how you can enjoy your watches more, and a bit of a disappointment for me as well in part 2. I'll see you then. Okay, well, welcome back to part 2 of Costco Drives. Well, in this segment of the video, my last video before 2022, I would think, the sun is setting, I've got the sunglasses on, and I'm enjoying a lovely drive back from Costco. So, lessons I've learned having Rolex watches. Well, I think the first thing to say is if you've got a few watches, like I do, I used to swap the watches every single day. And as the collection grew, I was like, well, not enjoying them as much really. And so what I decided to do, I decided to sort of wear them for a while and kind of get into the watch for a bit. So sometimes now I might wear a watch for a week. What I find when I do that is that I really get into enjoying them, appreciating them on my wrist, which is why you buy these things. And then I sometimes find it quite difficult to sort of swap into a different one. And that could mean that some of my watches don't get worn for 2-3 months. So that's one of the rules that I've come to, or one of the things I've come to learn about having Rolex watches. Anyway, what else is on my list of things I was going to say? Okay. The other thing about Rolex watches is there's really two types. The two things you need to go for when it comes to Rolex. If you can get the latest releases, obviously they're always good news, and they're hard to get. So if you can get the latest releases, they're always nice to have, but they're very hard to get really. But the other thing you need to think about is that if you have a watch which is, you might feel a bit dated, had a little while now, it's all good news because that watch is only going to go up in value. When you look at the 16710, you know, these Pepsis, they were like £4,000 or £5,000, and all of a sudden this would just jumped and jumped again, then they come into favour again, then they jump again. And it's always really nice to see a Pepsi GMT, the original sort of Pepsi GMT, when you're at an airport or you know you're travelling, and you see someone wearing one, you think, you know, a Rolex watch always tends to look, oh yes, always tends to look better on somebody else's wrist. That's another thing I've come to appreciate about watches. So the older the better. So as a watch, particularly when it goes into discontinued, they start to catch the eye of collectors. No more supply. Initially, sometimes the watch is discontinued. You know, you'll see a few for sale and try to cash in on the hype. The watch is going or gone, and then all of a sudden, after a while, take the Kermit. You know, the 16610 LV. You know, the original kind of 50th anniversary editions of Mariners. They are not plentiful now, and they are now knocking on the door of 20 grand. When I think I paid 3,300 for mine, it's good news. So that's another thing I've come to appreciate about having Rolex watches. And now for a little bit of sad news. I really wanted the Meteorite GMT, and when it came out, I thought I could put it in my existing watch, the white gold GMT, and I was told it couldn't be done. So then I asked for one. I was going to trade in, which is a hard watch to sell. I wore that watch through my European trip, so I was like, well, I'm going to hopefully be able to get one from a dealer. And I wasn't first in the queue. I thought I was going to be second, really. There's always watches I wanted. Anyway, I thought I was going to get the second watch, and I was there getting some stuff in the store, and then pulled it out of the safe, and unfortunately it's gone to someone else, which, you know, these things happen. But you know, you're relaxed, you think, well, it's okay, I'll get one eventually, and there's other things I want. You know, the Green Dial Daytona is just a super hard watch to get. I'm hoping that one comes good, so a bit disappointing. Your dealer can't always give you all the top watches because you've got to spread it around, and you've got to keep other customers that are spending lots of money in the shop too happy. So that's another little thing to bear in mind when it comes to watches. Okay. Another thing that I've come to appreciate with watches is I've sold very few of my watches over the years, and a watch I now regret selling, don't regret, I don't know, but you always regret selling any of your watches. That's definitely the case. I had a 1995 tritium dial 610 steel Submariner date. Lovely watch, split end links, tritium dial, lovely watch. I've traded it in for the mixed metal one. I regret that. I've got the same watch again, but the more later version, before it discontinued. But a watch I really regret selling, and they've just gone mega, is the 616 718 116 LN. I had a black dial, the full yellow gold GMT. And I saw one advertised 2019, 39,000. When I sold mine for, there's a big difference between the two. So you always tend to regret selling watches, and of course, if you hold on, maybe your circumstances improve. As my business has grown, I've been able to get in and do different things with watches. I'm very lucky, very fortunate, but you know, that's something I've learned. Again, maybe just bide your time, because you don't have to sell a watch you enjoy to get a watch you think you might enjoy more. Yeah, and the watches I've got in replacement for the ones I've sold, yeah, I've enjoyed them. But I do regret some of the watches I've sold over the years, you know, and you look at where the prices have gone now, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So there we go, that is Costco Drives, and hopefully you've enjoyed the second segment. I know those people that watch this sort of stuff, they're not into watches like me, the car stuff, but you know, the watches isn't the sort of their cup of tea. And that flywheel just takes you onwards in your journey, just picks up. Absolutely in love with this car. It's a complete dream machine. And I got a comment on one of my videos that featured this car. I think it was the first drive video. It might have been when it got the PPF on it. And the guy says, it's the nicest Spyder he's seen on social media, on YouTube. And I just replied and said, you know, I am so lucky that I have this car. I really am. I am so lucky. I absolutely love this car. And I love having great times with this car, with the people who've joined the club recently. It's great to meet new friends, go to great places, have great times together. That's what it's all about, meeting new people, new friends. That's what it's about for me. I enjoy putting it on, I love putting it on, but I'm having a break. So I appreciate you watching this video. I'll see you next year. I'll see you next time.